No one expected the storm to begin with a single, unmarked envelope. It arrived on a quiet morning, slipping through the royal postal system like any routine document. But the moment Princess Anne held it in her hands, something in her gut twisted. The wax seal was foreign, the handwriting hauntingly familiar. When she tore it open, her world shifted forever. What lay inside wasn't just information, it was a ticking time bomb carrying the final secret Diana never got to reveal. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. It began like any other day within the palace walls. The routine of endless documents, letters, and briefings had dulled Anne's instincts long ago. Yet something about this envelope pierced through that monotony. There was no royal crest, no embossed insignia of authority. Instead, a deep red wax seal stared back at her. Its strange design, almost like a silent challenge for a brief moment. She considered passing it off to her private secretary, as she usually did, but something inside urged her to open it herself. Her fingers hovered over the seal, heartbeat quickening, as if some buried part of her already knew this was not another ceremonial note or routine update. She broke the wax cleanly, unfolded the single sheet inside, and froze at first. Her eyes didn't fully register what she was seeing. The sterile header of a private laboratory report sat coldly at the top. Beneath it, familiar words leaped out with brutal clarity. DNA test results. Her gaze swept down the page, and there they were, names she knew as well as her own, Diana Spencer. And below it, another name she had never seen before, foreign to any palace record. The conclusion at the bottom was written in sharp, unambiguous language. There was no room for interpretation, no space for denial. It confirmed a genetic link between Diana and this unknown individual. A chill ran through Anne's body. The polished, predictable world she had lived in suddenly tilted on its axis. Her hands trembled as she reread the conclusion again and again, hoping she had misread it, that perhaps there was a clerical error. But the words didn't change. Each line clawed deeper, revealing something far more dangerous than gossip or scandal. This wasn't tabloid rumor. This was scientific proof. Undeniable and explosive, Anne's mind flooded with questions. Who had sent it? Why now? And most terrifying of all, what did this revelation mean for the royal family? She thought back to Diana's cryptic remarks over the years, the whispered confessions in quiet corners during family gatherings, the way her eyes sometimes carried a weight others dismissed as melancholy. Had Diana been trying to tell her something all along? A knot tightened in Anne's chest as she considered the implications. The monarchy was built on lineage, on the clarity of bloodlines and succession, and this report, if true, struck at the very foundation of that order. It wasn't just personal, it was constitutional, dynastic, explosive. Anne set the paper down slowly, her fingers reluctant to let it go, as if releasing it would make the truth vanish. But it was too late. The truth had already rooted itself in her mind. Whoever sent it had chosen her deliberately. She wasn't just a recipient. She was being entrusted, or perhaps tested, with a secret powerful enough to rewrite royal history. She folded the report carefully, her hands still unsteady, and locked it in her private drawer. Yet even as she turned the key, she knew nothing about her life or the monarchy itself. Would remain untouched by what she had just read. The silence of the palace around her suddenly felt heavier, as though the very walls were holding their breath. She glanced out toward the sprawling gardens, but the beauty outside did nothing to quiet the storm inside her. Anne had always been the steadfast one, the dependable royal, the woman who carried duty with quiet grace. But this was different. This was a revelation too big to bury, and what Anne didn't yet know was that this was only the beginning. Before she could even catch her breath, the shadows of Diana's past began to claw their way to the surface. Diana was many things: beloved princess, global icon, fierce mother, but she was also a woman who left breadcrumbs in places no one thought to look. Long before her tragic end, she suspected that one day, someone would need to follow them. And now, with that DNA report in hand, Anne finally understood the cryptic whispers Diana had scattered through diaries, letters, and quiet confessions. The past wasn't buried. It was waiting. Anne's hands still trembled from the weight of what she had read, but her sharp, unyielding mind began to search for context. She had spent years brushing aside Diana's more enigmatic remarks, dismissing them as emotional turbulence from a woman trapped in a gilded cage. But now, those words returned with haunting clarity. Diana's private diaries, once seen as mere emotional musings, contained lines that suddenly burned with new meaning. Phrases like, "truth too dangerous to speak aloud." Back then, they had seemed dramatic, the venting of a woman exhausted by relentless scrutiny. But against the cold certainty of that DNA report, they became something else entirely. They became evidence. Diana hadn't been exaggerating. She had been warning. Anne remembered vividly the few times she'd glimpsed those diaries. Diana had guarded them fiercely, sharing select passages only in moments of rare vulnerability. She spoke of keeping things safe, of leaving a map for someone who would one day understand at the time. Anne had smiled politely, never realizing that map wasn't metaphorical. It was literal. Letters to trusted confidants, hidden in obscure corners of her estate, holding fragments of a story never meant to be told within palace walls. Letters hinting at betrayal, not of love or politics, but of blood itself. One line, scrawled hastily in the margin of an otherwise tender passage, came back to Anne with chilling clarity. When they are ready, they'll understand. She had once dismissed it as poetic, perhaps meant for William and Harry, but now, with the DNA report echoing in her mind, she realized that they might have meant her, or anyone strong enough to uncover what the monarchy had buried. As the weeks unfolded, one thing became unmistakably clear. Princess Catherine's return wasn't just a royal engagement schedule resuming. It was a carefully orchestrated reemergence, a reminder that grace, when paired with quiet strength, can be more commanding than any throne. Behind every public smile, there was a story of endurance. Sources close to the palace spoke of long periods of rest, reflection, and recalibration. Catherine had chosen not to rush her comeback. She waited until she was ready, until her health, her confidence, and her purpose were fully aligned. And when she stepped back into the spotlight, it wasn't as a woman returning from absence, but as a leader reclaiming her place. Royal analysts have noted how Catherine's public tone has subtly shifted. There's more poise now, more silence, but in that silence, there's power. Gone are the days when she was seen merely as the charming Duchess of Cambridge, learning the ropes of royal life. Now she stands as the Princess of Wales, a title weighted with history, the same one once carried by Diana. But Catherine has made it her own. Where Diana's influence was radiant and emotional, Catherine's is grounded and strategic. She doesn't fight the institution, she reforms it from within, one carefully chosen appearance at a time. Observers often call her the royal constant, the stabilizing force amid the turbulence that has gripped the House of Windsor in recent years. Within palace corridors, that quiet influence has not gone unnoticed. Her relationship with Queen Camilla remains polite but formal, bound by duty, not warmth. Both women understand the power of image, and both navigate the fragile ecosystem of royal visibility. But unlike Camilla, whose rise to acceptance came through endurance, Catherine's acceptance was earned through connection with the people. Every smile, every moment of empathy, every encounter with a child or volunteer reinforces one simple truth. Catherine doesn't need to command loyalty. She inspires it. In private, William and Catherine have worked tirelessly to modernize the monarchy's public image. Gone are the overly formal poses and detached appearances. Instead, their engagements emphasize authenticity, teamwork, and compassion, values that resonate deeply with younger generations. Their approach is deliberate, and it's working. Surveys across the Commonwealth consistently show that the Prince and Princess of Wales are the most trusted and admired royals after the late Queen Elizabeth II. But as Catherine's star rises, the weight of expectation grows heavier. Every gesture, every look, every headline carries meaning. In the digital age, where perception can shift in seconds, Catherine's greatest challenge is maintaining the delicate balance between accessibility and mystique, between being seen and being understood. Her recent appearances have demonstrated that balance perfectly. At charity events, she's animated and warm, unafraid to roll up her sleeves or kneel down to speak with children. At state functions, she transforms into the epitome of royal elegance, commanding respect through presence, not words. It's a duality that few can master. And yet for Catherine, it seems effortless. Those close to her describe a woman deeply aware of her role in shaping the monarchy's next chapter. She understands that the institution she will one day help lead must evolve or risk fading into irrelevance. Through initiatives like the Royal Foundation's Early Childhood Program, she's investing in long-term change, building her legacy through causes that will outlive her public reign. But beyond her projects lies something more human. Despite the grandeur of her public life, Catherine's priority remains her children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. Insiders often speak of her insistence on school runs, bedtime routines, and family dinners, moments that ground her amid the chaos of royal duty. It's this balance between crown and compassion that defines her unique form of leadership. Yet, it hasn't been without challenges. The past few years have tested her resilience, from global scrutiny to personal trials and tensions within the royal circle. But every time, Catherine has emerged stronger, more focused, and more composed. As one royal correspondent described it, Catherine doesn't respond with words. She responds with grace. And it's that grace that continues to reshape the monarchy's image for a new generation. When she appears in public, whether in a shimmering gown or a simple blazer, she carries the quiet authority of someone who knows her place in history, but refuses to be defined by it. The media often tries to cast her in comparisons with Diana, with Meghan, even with Camilla. But those who truly observe her journey understand. Catherine isn't following anyone's path. She's carving her own. Her story is not one of rebellion, but of evolution. Not of noise, but of poise. In a world obsessed with drama, Catherine's power lies in calm consistency, and the public sees that dot in her most recent public engagement. During a charity concert at Westminster Abbey, Catherine's presence drew admiration from across the world. Wearing a soft ivory ensemble paired with sapphire earrings once belonging to Diana, she paid silent tribute to the woman who came before her, not in imitation, but in continuity. It was as though the past and future of the monarchy stood side by side, bound by compassion, grace, and quiet courage as she greeted guests and volunteers that evening. The cameras caught something subtle but telling, a rare smile shared between Catherine and William. No words were exchanged, but the look said everything we've endured. We're still here, and together, we're ready for what's next. For a royal family that has weathered storms of scandal, loss, and transition, Catherine represents something priceless. Stability with heart. And perhaps that's why her every appearance feels more significant than ever. She's not just performing royal duty, she's embodying what modern royalty can be. Empathetic, resilient, and deeply human. As the music swelled that night and the audience rose in applause, Catherine's expression was serene, reflective, almost wistful. It was as if she understood that her journey is no longer about becoming queen someday, but about redefining what a queen means in this century. For many, Princess Catherine is already fulfilling that promise, not through power, but through presence, not through words, but through quiet influence that touches millions. And so, as the lights of the Royal Albert Hall fade and the echoes of the crowd drift into silence, one truth remains undeniable. Catherine's story is far from over. It's only just beginning. She is the bridge between the monarchy's storied past and its uncertain future, the woman who carries the crown's legacy with humility and its hope with grace. And no matter what challenges lie ahead, one thing is certain: Princess Catherine is ready. The world is watching. And the next era of royalty has already begun.